Good morning, boys and girls, and here we are for another short video on a math concept. I will share my screen, and here we go. So again, we're starting with one individual concept. So right now we're looking at a worksheet titled Decimals, Tenths. So we need to know something about decimals. We need to know something about tenths and fractions. We need to recognize what these pictures are, these boxes that are sliced into parts. We definitely need to have an understanding of place value. So these are all things that may be kind of holes or gaps in your learning. And if that's the case, then we need to go back to those items. You need to master those items that you need to know first to be able to understand other concepts. So let's just take a look at this worksheet. And I usually don't give that little summary first. So apologize, this will be a little longer, but that's really what it comes down to. That should kind of be in the front of every video. So if you're struggling, or if you haven't learned it yet, or you didn't remember, you need reteaching, you need reinforcement, you need more practice. There's so many reasons why you may be in this place, but the goal is to master the concept. So let's take a look at the directions. We never want to skip that. It says to write the decimal and the fraction shown by each square. So they underline and because we want you to do both. So let's look at problem A. We have a square that's sliced into parts and they're highlighted in yellow. We want to know what the decimal is and what the fraction is. So simply, we need to count up all the yellow slices or parts, and we want to know how many parts there are altogether, and then we write that as a fraction. So if you're already familiar with fractions, you get what I'm saying. The top number is the numerator. That's how many parts are shaded in the picture. The bottom number is the denominator, the total number of parts. And I'm talking when we're referring to a problem that is a picture. So we count them up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 parts are shaded. That's our top number, which is our numerator. Sorry, boys and girls. You're going to see in these videos, I am not tech savvy. Okay, so the top number again, or the numerator, or how many parts are shaded is 9. The bottom number, I did it again, is going to be the total number of parts. And do we remember what that is? Yes, we remember that if we count them all up, there are 10 parts altogether. So the fraction, therefore, is 9 tenths. So as we look at this picture, we know how to arrive at the fraction. We know that we're looking at how many pieces or parts are shaded, how many total number of parts are there in this figure, in this box, and we get our fraction 9 tenths. Now to write the decimal, that could be a whole long video in itself, because we really want to understand what decimal means. It's a number that's less than 1, just like fractions are less than 1. And in this case, since it's, well, let me go back a minute. Since it's less than 1, we're going to have a 0 in the front of this number because it's less than 1. Then we will have our decimal. To get to the next number, we need to have a good understanding of place value. That very first number or digit or place right after the decimal is the tenths column. So if we ask ourselves how many tenths are there, well, we just figured that out. There are 9 tenths. And these are one and the same. And if you work with me, you already know that I constantly talk about the value of a number and how many ways you can show that. I'm showing this 3 different ways. I'm showing it in a picture where I colored in yellow how many parts out of the whole. I showed the value in a decimal, 0.9, and I showed it in a fraction, 9/10. So the long explanation is that you need to know about place value. And if you already have your fraction, then you know the decimal is 0.9 because it is a number less than 1 and there are 9/10. So we write the number 9 in the tenths column. There are various ways of looking at this, and I do want to keep these videos short, and they are meant to help and not confuse. So please leave me comments about what might be confusing as I'm giving various explanations. And the reason I do that is because you need to understand different things before you can get to this particular concept. So let's do problem B, especially because it's simpler. There's only one part that is shaded. That's our numerator. There are still 10 parts altogether. That's my denominator. If I want to convert that into a decimal, I already know that it's less than 1, so there's 0 ones. And right after my decimal is going to be how many tenths. In this case, there are 1/10. I know that from my fraction. I know that because there is 1 part shaded out of 10. So that's 2 examples. If we go to problem C, we do the same exact thing. I'm counting up and I'm looking and I see that there are 4 parts shaded. That's my numerator out of a total of 10 parts in my square. My denominator is therefore 10. These are all values less than 1, so there are 0 ones. And I know that the number right after the decimal is tenths, and I already figured out that there are 4/10. So those are 3 examples. I will probably go back and alter this since I made so many mistakes with this document before I was able to write onto the document. So I do apologize for that, boys and girls. But the concept is clear, and I'd really like you to let me know if anything is confusing or frustrating, or you don't understand, or you didn't learn that before. Because again, I think I'm going to say this maybe for the 3rd time in this video, and it's so important. You need to master all of those earlier things, concepts, skills, understanding of what these things are before you can get to something more complex. So before I end this video, I'll just look at part D, problem D, and say, let's just give the answer. So we already know there's 10 altogether. That's our denominator. We already can add up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 parts shaded. That's the numerator. And the decimal is going to be 0.6 because we already know that this is the tenths place and there are 6/10. I hope this was helpful, even with all these little mistakes I made to write on the document. I will go back and probably redo this video, but this is really about giving you a good solid explanation for how to convert this picture into tenths and decimals. So until the next video, give yourselves a pat on the back, and I will see you next time. Thank you so much, boys and girls. Bye-bye.